We did it.
We are what you call professional podcasters.
Episode 17, and we remembered to clap.
Fuck. I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We will forget in the next week or two.
Yeah.
Let's slow down on the victory lap.
This is Hoot and Holler, a podcast about the Ozarks.
So what's going on this week?
Nothing much. It is snowing like crazy down here in Fayetteville. We're supposed to get 8 inches of snow.
Oh, damn.
Today, so happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I act like that's keeping me from anything. Like I wasn't just going to stay inside anyway.
Well, you're getting a lot more snow than we are here. We're only supposed to get 3 inches.
Yeah, Arkansas, we're just a temperate people, so everyone's taking it real hard. And then we're supposed to get some more snow Wednesday, so we'll see how it goes. We have cat food, and we have pasta, so Margot's household will be fine until the world unthaws.
I bought a lot of snacks yesterday.
Yeah, it's snack city over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anytime that I go to stock up, I'm like, well, I need cookies. I need I need to triple up on the chips. I will not do well in any kind of post-apocalyptic hellscape because I'm like, I need salty snacks, everyone.
Gotta have the sweet.
We
with the
got
salty.
the
sweet with the salty.
We got the party size Oreos.
I love this energy.
Even though we don't regularly buy Oreos, but for some reason it was determined that this week we need the party size.
I don't know about y'all, but one thing about when the weather gets really bad like this is it brings out the worst, it feels like, in everybody on the hellscape facebook.com. And everybody is a lot of people are trying really hard to make sure that our unhoused members of our community are not going to fucking freeze to death, because they're predicting whiteout conditions tonight. It's going to be with the wind chill, they got a wind chill advisory. It's going to be -20. It's some unbelievable number.
Yeah.
And, we have, and something that I'm realizing, and it definitely comes from a place of privilege, is we don't have a lot of overnight shelters available in the area. I know we've talked a little bit about that before. So a lot of people are, with our mutual aid, Solidarity, they are working on raising money to get hotel vouchers and things like that. And by God, the people on the internet who are like, well, I don't know, all these people out on these street corners asking for money, they do better than I do. They got nicer cars than I do. And I'm like, would you shut up for a fucking second? So,
God, I hate that.
I would recommend to anybody who's listening to this on Wednesday, just avoid the internet as much as you can. Don't avoid our podcast. I would prefer, obviously, that you listen to us. But the rest of it is kind of a wash at this point, so it's not good.
People are going to die. A lot of people are going to die this week. And the mutual aid org that I organize with, we just got off of a meeting trying to figure out what to do. And it feels like, we'll never be able to do enough. We won't be able to save everyone. And we can get out some sleeping bags, we can get out some tents, and that'll help a little bit. But when the wind chill is -30, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly. And it's especially in, the Branson area. And I know that you've talked about this and Pat have talked about this, of how it's almost unreal that there are people sleeping outdoors in any condition, but let alone the conditions that we're facing right now. Because what they said, like the hotel occupancy in Branson right now is what, like 20%. Like there's so many like rooms to house people, and they're making an active choice not to, because it would hurt their brand or would hurt their bottom line. But I'm like, it's already hurting your bottom line for those rooms to sit empty. And and I mean, it's the same here. We have, a large spaces, we have not as many hotels, but we have mega churches, and we have plenty of churches, and we have, the university stadium and all these places. And I'm like, man, it seems like if we all kind of work together here, we could definitely find some places for people in our community to sleep. And I think it comes down to some people just don't view like the unhoused members of our community as members of our community. And that feels like a shame to me,
Yeah, absolutely. And the fuck of it all is that there is plenty of space to house everyone. There are plenty of unused houses, and not just in emergencies like this, but year round. We have the space, and it's just an active choice not to do it. And like you were saying, in Branson, there's over 20,000 hotel rooms in Branson, and the population of Branson is only 10,000 people. And they won't rent those hotel rooms to local people, even in the off season when they're losing money anyway. They still won't rent them out just because we don't want them to do drugs here. What?
That is something that just makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, what? in a place where drug addiction to any substance, but especially drug addiction, is treated as like a criminal offense rather than what it is like a health issue, which is exactly what it is. They're like, man, I would rather these people who are struggling with addiction, I'd rather them die freezing outside because they're addicted to something than have a safe place. That's just so crazy to me. And could you imagine?
My brain just can't go there.
Yeah. It's so nuts to me.
And in Branson especially, it's such a moralizing issue, and it's, to get over your drug problem, you just need to accept Jesus into your heart. Oh my God.
And you can convince yourself you're doing a moral thing by not giving someone money who asks you for money, because you can say,
right.
That also just feels like a way to pat yourself on the back and keep your money, is saying, well, they just would have used it on drugs or alcohol. So really,
yeah.
I
hate that argument anyway, because if I were outside freezing to death, then I would take literally whatever drug I could get to take my mind off of that fact.
Absolutely. 100%. There's no way I would just be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it sober. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Right. Like in every Russian short story, when someone's trapped out like in the cold, they're trying to warm themselves with vodka.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is, it's at this point, it's a Twitter proverb, essentially, in that people will say, oh, well, if I give an unhoused person money, they might just use it on drugs and alcohol. And it's like, yeah, they might, but like, isn't that what you would be doing with your money too? Like,
yeah, but I'd be.
And it's none of your business.
I'd be using them on party drugs.
Yeah, and so it's exactly like it does. Like it like you said. One, I don't blame anybody for relying on substances if they're having to live outdoors when the wind chill is -30, which is an imaginary number. Yeah, get hammered. I don't care. And the moral Olympics that we watch, I think, just play out, especially in the Ozarks, especially in the Bible Belt. It's particularly exhausting when, unfortunately, like, I know that tomorrow we're going to wake up and in our immediate area, there's going to be a story about how somebody froze to death outside, and it's completely preventable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's absolutely no reason that somebody in, a quote unquote, our developed nation should fucking freeze to death outside just because we just decided that they were not worth housing.
Yeah, just because someone won't open a door to an empty building.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're ever on Facebook or something and you're engaging with anyone and they use the phrase Obama phone, you can go ahead and mute them and stop responding to them. It's not worth your time.
Absolutely. It's never worth your time.
What's Obama phone?
They talk about how all of these people have Obama phones. Like it was a program under Bush to get like cell phones to low income people. But it just became like a right-wing buzz phrase for poor people have nicer phones than me kind of thing. But also that meant they're rich. They actually have money.
Fuck that too, because it's in today's time you have to have a phone.
Right.
You just have to do anything. You want them to apply for those jobs? Okay, they have to have a phone.
Absolutely. Like the internet is like an essential utility at this point.
It's insane to me that neither one of the parties has picked up the mantle of universal Wi-Fi for everyone for free as just a public utility, like a public thing, because people literally need it to find a job, or you need it to right now have your kid go to school. So it's asinine to me that the Democrats didn't use this in 2020. I mean, they won.
Yeah, that's been a major issue out where I live. The internet sucks out here, and so kids were given the option at the public school here. They could come in person, or they could do virtual learning, but they weren't given any sort of additional access to the internet, which is more expensive out here and poorer quality. So
yeah,
it's also bizarre how, in theory, right, prices should go down over time for the internet, right? Because there's more competition and there's I don't know how I don't know how any of this stuff business works, but my internet goes up constantly.
I'm going to be honest, I don't even understand how the internet works. And I know it takes money to operate these like giant servers or whatever, but I don't understand how internet like travels through the air.
Oh no, I believe all science is magic.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand why I have like a limited amount, because I pay for unlimited 4G or whatever, but then because I run a hotspot off my phone because the internet is too expensive here, I use up, they send me a text and they say you've gotten to 50 whatever this month, so now we're going to slow down your speeds. And I don't get that. One, I thought I was paying for unlimited.
It's a scam.
And then the other thing, why you can just press a button and slow it down, then that means you could also choose to not press that button and slow it down. So
yeah.
I don't.
It kind of seems like you're making a choice to fuck me over here, bud.
Yeah.
Can we blame all this on cryptocurrency because they've had to use more storage for crypto stuff and all that? I almost was able to pretend like I knew what I was talking about, but now I'm just going to abort and get out of here right now.
I know nothing about cryptocurrency.
But I mean,
sure.
I don't.
It has to be stored.
Well, I don't see why we can't blame it on cryptocurrency though. Like nobody's telling we can't. So yeah, it's cryptocurrency's fault. You heard it here on Hoot and Holler podcast from tech geniuses
on libertarians. I know just enough that if someone knew a lot that was here talking about it, I could fake it by mostly agreeing.
Yeah, I can always say,
Yeah. Oh yeah, right on.
Exactly.
Well, what is something we know about?
Well, I don't know anything about the impeachment.
Oh, I have one note, and I just wrote, "Who care?"
Yeah.
Who cares?
I honestly didn't follow it because I don't give a fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know, I don't want to say that it was useless. It kind of was. It's like they didn't have the votes. But also, I didn't really follow it that close because there's just so much going on. And, like, I definitely agree that Trump needed to be held accountable for his actions. But if Democrats knew that they were going to be little bitches about it, kind of seems like they might have wasted everybody's time. It's like, you got to whole ass this thing, my dudes.
Right. And that's why, at the end of the day, it's good that they just got it over with quickly and aren't dragging it out, because they never would have gotten the votes. And, like, I guess I'm glad they tried. Like, the only people that are going to be held to any kind of account for any of this are the 7 Republicans that are now going to be primaried by someone that Marjorie Taylor Greene goes and campaigns for against them.
Yeah.
Those are the people in Trump. Like, Trump's not going to be held accountable. Rubio, Cruz, and Hawley, none of those guys are going to face any consequences for anything that happened. But Lisa Murkowski is going to lose to someone who's running on imprisoning Tom Hanks for eating a baby. But yeah,
is this your first time in America? Like, you think people are going to be held accountable for their terrible actions? Yeah. That doesn't happen here.
No.
Sorry.
I didn't go out of my way to follow it, but I was following people who were following it and seeing the reactions, and I just felt bad because all of the reactions to it were kind of like, they seemed really invested in it, and I felt terrible because we know the outcome. You know, like, it's...
Yeah, it just makes me sad that you really believed that.
You kind of have to give it up to them to still have any remaining optimism in the Democrats.
Or more having any optimism in the Republicans to be honest brokers.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats all had their ducks in a row. Like, they all voted for it. But
yeah,
the funniest thing to me was that Ted Cruz, who is the juror in this, one of the jurors, was advising the the defense team on strategy. Like, what the fuck?
What?
Also, it looked like on Twitter that Ted Cruz has a mullet now.
Yeah,
and I think that's worth talking about.
He got what is that? Is a fade? Is that what a fade is? I don't know.
Just like on the sides, right?
Yeah. I don't know what that is that Ted Cruz has on his head. I don't know if you can use human words to describe it, but
he keeps making more and more interesting fashion choices. Like, he started with that beard that it's not a great beard. It kind of looks like Wolfman Jack-ish, but like thinner. And now he's coming.
I think he needs to keep the beard. Honestly,
he has a gross face.
Is better for him. Yeah, his face is way too gross to be naked.
You guys can shit talk Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I'll shit talk Cruz as being an ugly man.
Oh, we're allowed to talk about men, yeah, but yeah, I absolutely agree.
And we can also insult the looks of his wife because he seems fine with it for what.
Yeah.
he likes that.
Right.
So here's the thing. I've never been married. And so this is definitely coming from a different point of view. But if I were married and somebody called me ugly and then my husband became that person's like best friend and defender, I would leave them immediately.
Yeah.
I don't have this problem because Pat and I are both incredibly attractive. So
yeah.
It's funny that Cruz thinks any of this is going to pay off for him at some point, this man is going to get wrecked by everyone again when he runs for president again. Like, I think he thinks he's on, like, Nixon, just keep trying until you win trajectory. No, Ted, no one likes you. Almost lost in Texas to Beto. You are not going to be president. People do not like
universally disliked.
Yeah, people talk about Al Franken talked about it, about how he's just like absolutely the most disliked person in DC. I think that's fucking hilarious.
Now Holly's giving him a run for his money now to be the most disliked politician.
Yeah, Holly, so they had the Senate chamber for social distancing purposes during the impeachment. You could sit up in the balcony area, and the only person who did it was Josh Hawley. And he was just looking at papers, had his like a cool kid in high school, had his feet propped up, which is hanging out,
he had
on his phone.
He had his feet on the banister.
Yeah.
God, what an asshole! He is just such a fucking asshole.
And truly, just through and through, he just oh God.
And he's not the cool rebel guy. You know what I mean? He's not the leather jacket, backwards hat, class tough guy in a high school movie. He's the preppy, Revenge of the Nerds, frat guy. That kind of asshole.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's not a cool rebel. He's a rebel who has had everything. He's not a rebel. He's just a snotty brat who's had everything given to him.
Do you think he ever popped his collar?
Ooh, yeah, he's popped his collar.
Oh, he absolutely popped his collar. 2009 was probably a hell of a time for Josh Hawley.
I was trying to find a lot of pictures of young Josh Hawley, and I couldn't find that many.
Yeah, because I think he might have been born out of a egg in 2015, just fully formed and. Bleh.
This is how I spend my free time, by the way, is trying to find pictures of high school Josh Hawley.
You posted a picture of Josh Hawley that I'm sure on a campaign stop where he's talking to it looks like he's in a sale barn or something like that, and it does not look real. He's talking to this old man and how he's posed, and just his proportions. He just absolutely does not look like a real human being. It looks like they put him through a taffy stretcher and then put him in this photo. It's the weirdest fucking thing, and it has haunted me for a week now, Josh, just so you know.
Did he have both?
Is that the one where he has his hands on his hips?
Yeah, he does that all the time.
Yes. You guys know exactly the one that I'm talking about.
Yep.
He is a weird stander. He stands. Everything he does is so calculated, so he's out there trying to be one of the folks, but he's not good at it.
That's the thing, is if you have to really, really try to be one of the folks, I'm sorry, but you aren't one of them.
Just stay in Virginia, man.
Yeah. You know? Ugh.
I legitimately can't understand why Republicans have this phenomenon of standing weird. It's a documented phenomenon. Republicans stand really fucking weird. Why?
They really do.
They each have their own weird way of standing.
I was going to say
it's all weird.
Because they're all approximating what a human stands like, but that's not true. Trump is doing his own thing. No one in human history has stood like Trump stands, and he's not trying to do anything. It's just Trump being Trump.
Mm-hmm. I think this is what happens when you have, one, you grow up with probably too much money, and then also you just have too many yes people around you, and no one's ever Josh, if you were ever standing like Josh Hawley and I caught you, I'd be like, Josh, you're being a real fucking weirdo right now, buddy. Because I love you and I care about you, but I feel like people just don't like Josh Hawley that much. They're like, I'm not gonna be the one to tell Josh Hawley that it looks like he just got run through a taffy stretcher.
I mean, he clearly has no one in his life to tell him that, because one of those people would have said, "Don't name your son Blaze."
Oh God, yeah.
Blaze. Oh my God. I guess I didn't know that was his kid's name, and now it makes sense.
What's the other one?
There's
Blaze
a popular kids show on Nickelodeon called Blaze and the Monster Machines.
I mean, maybe that's one of
name.
those. He should have named his kid Monster Machine.
That would be dope.
I mean, maybe there's a ton of kids named Blaze right now. You know what I mean? I don't know how these trends work. Where there were a ton of Madisons a few years ago.
Like Madison Cawthorn? I'm not sure what his last name is.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Who? Oh, he sucks.
Yeah. I was gonna say I thought he was a troop, but he's not.
No, he claims that he almost got into West Point.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, Madison and I have the same amount of military experience. He's also booking the same amount of stand-up shows as I am right now, so... is what it is, man.
The other thing I've seen post impeachment is, and not a ton, but too much of it from verified liberal, not journalists, but the resistance types is saying, well,
blue check liberals?
Yeah. So I'll just read this one from Ken Tremendous.
No, fuck.
I hope Trump runs again in 2024, just babbling incoherently and using racial slurs and pulling his pants down in public, and that makes it impossible for any of these seditionist opportunists to find any way to advance their own careers, and he ruins the party forever. No! This is... That's
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, no. Do these people not remember what happened 4 years ago when we all thought it would be funny? It will work, and he will be president again, except he will be... It is the problem with the Democrats saying 2022, the Republicans are the QAnon party, and running against QAnon. The party is, when they win in 2022, they can then say, QAnon now has a mandate to rule the country. That's who you said we were.
Oh, man.
Things are so incredibly bleak and weird right now.
Everyone just lives in their own reality, and it's so weird.
Yeah, it's not a cool, fun reality.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
God, I do wish they would have let Trump have one tweet during the impeachment. Just one.
Right. Oh God. What if he got one tweet? They say, okay, you can do it, and he just said, "Hang Mike Pence," all caps.
I would hope he would use his one tweet to talk about Robert Pattinson again.
But what if they went back to back to the old days of Twitter, only 140 characters? That's it.
I mean, you don't need that many to talk about how Graydon Carter's Oscar parties aren't that hot anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't think he's going to run again. And I could be wrong, because I'm usually wrong. But he didn't want to be president in the first place. That was an accident, you know?
Right.
I think you're absolutely correct. I think he is going to enjoy the fact that he is now this weird martyr almost in the Republican Party. And I think maybe Josh, it was you, or maybe it was Pat, that said he's going to love the fact that people are going to travel down to Mar-a-Lago, come kiss the ring, and, ask for his, fucking terrible endorsements. And he's going to enjoy, having this weird sense of power with no real responsibility, which, I mean, I guess we're kind of what we're all looking for. But,
well, and I think... Yeah, I think he will throw his weight. What he will do is throw his weight behind someone, you know.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Whoever
he wants to install.
he called up Marjorie Taylor Greene to tell her good job after her whole thing a couple weeks ago. Like, he's going to do that, and it's going to he's going to have a ton of power. He's like when someone gets fired for doing something offensive, and then they say, "Well, I'm glad I was fired. Now I'm unchained." You know what I mean? Like, I can't be held back now. That's going to be him. I mean, not that he was ever chained up, but but now he can just be even more Trump. And now that the impeachment's behind him, he has nothing to worry about. Because there's not going to be criminal charges brought against him. I'm sorry, liberals. No one, they are not going to set a precedent that crimes could come back to haunt a president, because then it could be used against against President Harris one day. You know what I mean?
Well, because every president commits crimes, so you wouldn't want that happening.
But they won't be as uncouth of crimes as Trump's crimes, which were, and I mean, his crimes and they also were mean tweets.
Yeah.
They also won't arrest him because, you know, we have to heal the nation, and that wouldn't heal the nation.
You know what would heal the nation? If I went to my mailbox and got a check for $2,000.
That would heal me.
Yeah.
Although,
has there been any... Go ahead.
I was going to say, not according to that bastard Dave Ramsey.
Oh my fucking God. Dave Ramsey, I'm so sorry. Dave Ramsey has been a pain in my ass from the fucking minute I turned 18, because in Harrison, everybody starts getting married at 18, and that is like the traditional wedding gift. Is like, you gotta get on the Dave Ramsey plan. And I have heard all of my friends talk about Dave Ramsey and Dave Ramsey and Dave Ramsey and how I need to save my money. I'm like, okay, one, at this time, I was like, I make $19,000 a year. There's no money left over to save. Second, Dave Ramsey could suck a fart out of my asshole. Dave Ramsey's big plan is that Paris Hilton shirt that just says, "Stop being poor." And I fucking hate this dude. His advice to save money for rich people, I can't. I fucking hate the man. And anytime I see him, I'm filled with a rage that is almost unexplainable. And now he's like, oh, if $600 or $1,400 is going to change your life financially, you're already screwed. It's like,
we are already screwed. Dave, give us the money.
Yeah, we are already screwed by a goddamn global pandemic. You dumb motherfucker.
And we were screwed before that.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
From dozens of years of failed policy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Dave, we're screwed by a system that's in place. We're not screwed because, I mean, all of his advice is intuitive. You know what I mean? Like, he's essentially, if he was a stockbroker, if he was like Jim Cramer, his advice would be, hey, buy low and go ahead, and what you should do is then sell high. Like, that's the thing. It's like, if you work his system, it works. You know what I mean? Like, if AA works, if you follow the book, like if you follow his stupid workbook, it works. Like, people know, oh, if I spend more money than I have, it is bad. Yeah, okay, thanks, Dave. So
hey Dave, where in the chapter in your book should I account for unexpected medical costs because we live in a country where healthcare isn't a human right? Or oh hey Dave, where should I expect to calculate in the fact that my mom died and I have to pay for her funeral now? Or what? God, I fucking hate him. My blood pressure's spiking.
He'll explain all that to you if you come to his workshop at your church, which is $299.99. But you
trust me,
a free book and a free workbook. I don't know how much it actually costs, but they do have them at churches a lot.
They do, because I have seen the posts from people who go to them, and nothing against them. I know they're trying their best. I just can't stand Dave Ramsey. He's predatory. Oh God.
Well, you want to know some shit? This is something I learned from a podcast. This was like several years ago, so I don't remember what it was on. But programs like that they hold in churches where it's like money management or things like improve your marriage, those sorts of things that they have at churches all the time. They get state funds for that. There's like some loophole where
Are you kidding me?
No, they get funds that are supposed to be allocated for welfare, and through some loophole, they put them into these types of programs.
I owe the state of Arkansas $38 this year, and you're telling me the churches can get state funds. Okay, I'm a libertarian, you guys.
I'm reading Ramsey's Wikipedia. He was born to real estate developers. Who taught the children.
It's amazing what being born to money can do. Oh my god!
Although he did file for bankruptcy after he had $4 million, and when the Competitive Equality Banking Act took effect, he had to file for bankruptcy. Okay, and that's when he figured out his grift, I guess. Ugh.
It's like this that. Do you remember that budget that I think it was McDonald's put out several years ago? That was like, see, it's so easy what you can do with a McDonald's salary. And they had rent at like $200.
Yeah.
And then it included income from a second job.
I think in the rent, they were factoring in that everyone that works in the restaurant lives together in one apartment.
Why would you spend money on rent when you could live behind the dumpster at the McDonald's that you work at? You don't need a car to travel back and forth to work.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
You do save on gas.
It really just kind of sounds like y'all are just committed to being the victims here. It's not capitalism's fault.
Once again, Paris Hilton told him, stop being poor.
Stop being poor. Like, that's it, you know?
We don't have to feel bad about talking bad about Paris Hilton, right? There's not going to be some revisionist documentary. Not the Britney one is revision, but like, it's going to
No, she just had one of those. No, she just had Paris Hilton just had one that came out a few months ago about yeah. So no, you can't talk about Paris Hilton.
We did have a exciting week in the Arkansas State House. I wanted to talk to you guys about this before I forget. Senator Stephanie Flowers got censured by the Arkansas State Senate this week. So long story short, the Stand Your Ground bill passed through one chamber, and it had to go to the Senate to make it to Asa's desk. Well, thankfully, it did fail. But in the discussions about it, Stephanie Flowers, who she is this great state senator, she's actually, there was a video of her that went viral before when Arkansas was debating a Stand Your Ground law, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And she's an African-American woman, and she did call Senator Trent Garner a dumbass during a meeting, and she got censured for it. So, actually, sorry, this was not for, I fuck this up every time. This was not for Stand Your Ground law. That did fail this week. This was for another resolution that was proposed against the 1619 Act, which, as we all know, Senator Tom Cotton's favorite topic. Trent Garner was arguing that shouldn't be taught. We should strip funding if it is taught. And she called him a dumbass who didn't know nothing about anything.
Nice.
So I would like to shout out Arkansas State Senator Stephanie Flowers
Can we get a
Go ahead.
Can we get a floor vote on whether or not he is a dumbass who knows nothing?
Yeah,
yeah.
If I showed you a picture of him, you would be like, yeah, he don't know nothing about nothing.
Well, I was reading something this morning that I'll get your take on, and I don't it's kind of confusing, and so I'm going to try to do my best to explain it here. So as part of this $1.9 trillion relief package that they're working on to get us our checks, because it's going through budget reconciliation, the pay-as-you-go program means that every dollar that's allocated has to be like made up in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the package, the way that they're reconciling this is with a $25 billion cut to Medicare, which is great during a pandemic. And then also some like farm aid subsidies and some infrastructure stuff. And so these Medicare cuts are in the bill, but the way Democrats are positioning themselves they're saying it's not going to be a problem because they're going to skirt around some rules, which they've done in the past. There's precedent for that. But all they have to do is get 10 Republican signatures, and then they can just proceed ahead without doing the cuts.
Can they
go ahead.
Can they get them to sign any? Can they somehow take a bill and like fold up the piece of paper and say, "Hey, will you sign this thing to make concealed carry a federal, and you can conceal carry anywhere?" And then get like Ted Cruz to sign it, and then they're really signing this? Because that's the only way you're going to get 10 Republicans to sign on for this.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm just so confused because they are in power, and obviously I don't understand all these little, minutia of rules, but I don't understand why all of a sudden this massive cut to Medicare is resting in 10 Republican senators' hands. And the Democrats are saying there's nothing to worry about. Like, this isn't even an issue. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. So I don't know. It's just something to watch, I guess. Because I would be interested to see if they get those 10 signatures.
God, we're never going to see any kind of anything. God, we're all going to fucking die. And honestly, at this point, I'm just waiting for it. Please, take me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my God, they're in fucking charge.
I mean, do they need?
And like, am I being like? And please tell me if I am. And if anybody's listening, tell me if I am. Am I being too simplistic about this? But these motherfuckers are in charge. Just pass it.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. Like, is there something I'm not understanding?
Yeah, like because
is it? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get, because they would need the 10 to get to the 60 vote threshold, right? So that would be outside of reconciliation. So are they saying we'll pass this Medicaid thing separately to make up the funds?
No, they're saying, and this is all from a Politico article. Okay. And I should have pulled it up. I don't know why I didn't. But they're saying that the cuts won't have to happen at all if they get the 10 signatures.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
There's no chance they're getting the $15 minimum wage in there.
No, absolutely not.
But I just don't. Why would the cuts have to happen at all?
Yeah. And if anything, if they sneak anything into that bill, Democrats are probably going to cave and lower the minimum wage to like $6.50 again.
It's just like the whole the whole thing is moot to me because I reject the entire premise because I know that when the wealthy and the powerful are in trouble, they can just print up new money and give it to them because they do that all the time.
Which they kept doing to get the stock market number to go up. Back in March and April. Like, do you remember when
they
Trump
gave $1 trillion? Do
you remember when
they just made up $1 trillion out of thin air?
One of my all-time favorite Trumps is when he printed out the stock market going up that day and signed it and was giving it to people.
Yeah.
Line went up. Hooray. What if the Democrats offer this compromise on the minimum wage? $15 minimum wage, but we'll bring back child labor.
I'm sending my kid off to work. Time to start pitching in.
Not great, guys. Not looking good. Not looking good for us today.
So I have one extremely quick thing. I was looking at the Instagram of the guy who's running for Springfield mayor, the kind of anti-mask guy, Marcus.
Yes.
Who denies being anti-mask, but he is. So he had a Martin Luther King Jr. Day Instagram video.
Oh my God.
Great.
So he started off by saying that he doesn't really know a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. And then he said, but after watching some of his videos, I have a better understanding for him. And then the first thing he says is, one thing I found very interesting, for me at least, is his assassination is on April 4th. And my birthday is on April 4th.
Oh my fucking God.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Like, I will send you this video. This guy this guy's an idiot. Like, I could kind of tell.
Can we pay to have this run as an ad in Springfield? How much would that cost?
Yeah, please. I will Venmo however much we need.
Yeah, it's painful. Like, the whole video is like a minute and 45 seconds. And the first 45 seconds are him saying, I didn't really know who Martin Luther King was. But I checked out some of his stuff on YouTube. I checked out his YouTube channel. I gave a thumbs up to it. And
checked out a SoundCloud.
And then he just kind of reads an inspirational, like, let's all rebuild this country together kind of quote from King. And that's the end. He's like, well, have a great Martin Luther King Day, everyone. Like,
wow.
This guy is. I didn't think I would find like more rocks rolling around in brains than the Branson Barbers, but I'm sorry, Mayor Marcus.
He's a himbo too.
Yeah,
he's a himbo, except he's not my type of himbo. He's got a big old apple head.
He also him and his brothers running for city council. Like, in all their pictures, they do like Trump thumbs up, but they're doing this thing that it's funnier, I guess, when local people do it. It's what every politician does when they run for office. Is they just start doing politician posts. So his most recent post on his For Mayor page was last night he went to see The Sound of Music at Springfield Little Theater, and it's just like, what a wonderful experience to see the beautiful theater. And I was thinking about the architecture and of these old theaters that used to be opera houses and how we can rebuild the city. Like, everything becomes that kind of post. And it's just like so embarrassing. Like, it's just that politician roboticness where I'm no longer
and he
a
doesn't
human.
even live. He doesn't even live in Springfield. He's literally using his business address. He registered to run with his Springfield business address.
I'm going to get a P.O. box in Nixa for the bookstore and run for mayor of Nixa.
Do it and run their town into the ground.
I would be honored. Someone needs to take down Nixa. manager of the movie theater I worked at who took a copy of Macbeth out of my hands and threw it across the lobby and called me a fudge packer for reading is a cop at Nixa now. So,
Oh
so
my God.
I will
Nixa is
defund
where
their
all
police.
the Nixa is where all the gated communities are, for those who don't know.
Yeah, Nixa is white flight from an already white city of Springfield.
Yeah. They fled just the pores. They were just fleeing the pores.
Anyway, that's all I had to say about him. Like, he's not a very good poster. It's just all that. The guy who's running against Billy Long, he's more of a. He hasn't gotten the memo that this is how you're supposed to go do a tour of city utilities and say they're working really hard and do a thumbs up picture. Instead, he's talking about how we're going to impeach Kamala Harris, which is his last post.
And that's the Q chiropractor, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to following his arc.
Yeah.
Well, unless we have any more news to cover.
I mean, I guess just Billy's Twitter really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a week.
The king is logging off.
Sort of. So there was a newsletter article this week about how Billy Long is quitting Twitter for the reasons that they all are, in theory, right? Because they treated us very unfairly.
Well, he said it was because he lost followers.
Yes, yeah.
Real petty shit.
Because they're purging patriots, and the followers he lost were like the Q Shaman and Baked Alaska. You know, like all of the like Nazi bot accounts and QAnon people.
Yeah, it's like why would you alert people to the fact that the people that Twitter is suspending, and Twitter is known for keeping like violent right-wing racists on their platform. Why would you advertise that the people who Twitter is like, oh damn, we might need to do something about these people, those are the followers you're losing? Like, why would you announce that?
It would be like,
how old is Billy?
Oh, that's a good question. I would guess late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, I was gonna guess older than that, like late 60s, early 70s.
I'm
anyway,
not good with ages.
Old enough that he should just...
Oh, he's 65.
Oh, okay. Yeah, why don't you want to just... You like to gamble, so why don't you just want to retire and just go gamble and enjoy yourself and leave us the fuck alone?
It's the same reason any of these people can't. They're just addicted to power, I guess. He's not going to stay logged off, though. So this there was an Axios story that he was the number one tweeting member of Congress. He averaged 265.4 tweets per week, which, look, I never log off and I never stop posting, but I can't touch Billy when it comes to tweets.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And the second... That's double the third place person, which is Texas Senator John Cornyn, had like 130 a week.
That man has to have calluses on his thumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're terrible tweets. But the thing is, that is his Auctioneer 1 account that is not going to tweet anymore.
Right.
Which I don't care because I'm blocked from that account. But his US Rep Long account is still posting. So, but the newsletter article noted it only notched around 50 tweets in the past 7 days.
Damn, they're calling him out for being a prolific poster. Man.
Years ago, he got, I don't know if it's a front page story, but it was a big newsletter story about how he was going to go on a diet. And this was a story. I need to look this up because it
What was he going to do? Keto? Was it keto?
No, I don't think it was like one of the like fad diets. It was just like, I'm just going to be eating an apple for lunch. There was never any follow-up. It must have just been this was pre-Trump, so it wasn't like constant news every day. It was just kind of the boring Obama years. But yeah, he is not logging off. But he'll be back. And none of these people have stopped being on Facebook. There's no difference between, like, Facebook also kicked Trump off, so be consistent, guys.
I do not log on to the hell that is Facebook.
It's terrible. And I'm double staying off today because everyone is celebrating their relationships on Facebook, so I extra hate it today.
It's a big day in Northwest Arkansas. It's a big day for people revealing their boyfriends. Big day for people talking about the snow. Big day for people posting their Valentine's Day stories. And, I'm happy for them. I don't want to see it. I don't care. I'm going to go onto Twitter where everyone else is sad.
As far as I'm concerned, looking at these pictures on Facebook of couples, this is just women posting their L's online. That's right, ladies. Your men suck.
You could have had a Josh. You could have had a man with a podcast and an Alf costume.
You could have had a man with frozen
and a cat.
Yeah.
And
you could start making bathtub gin in there with that.
That is true.
Josh, I will, if you start making bathtub gin, as a lover of gin and your friend, I will support you.
Thank you. I mean, we need to bring back like Ozark bathtub brewing. Like, fuck all this crap.
It's not bathtub brewing, but my parents actually make their own beer and wine.
Okay.
And they have for 20 years.
We make wine.
It's pretty good.
We have
we make some wine here.
Too many nice craft breweries in the area. We need more sheds of people in my neighborhood just selling stuff out of their backyard.
I want to take a risk. I want to see if I can go blind one night,
just to feel something.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feel-good story for a change.
Yay!
Since we are a doomer podcast, I thought it might be nice to bring a feel-good story to the table for once. And so yes. I have a story of mutual aid in the Depression era in the Ozarks. And I just love this story so much. It's one of my favorite Ozark stories. And when I first read about it a couple of years ago, I made my whole family drive out to the place and see if we could still find this guy's house. And it was still standing. And then we went over to the library and they sold me this little book about his life at the library. And this is the story of the Wizard of Oto. And I got all this information from the book, The Wizard of Oto by Carly Andrews. And it's not a very good book, unfortunately, but it's a very short book and it has some cool stuff in it. So here's the story of the Wizard of Oto. And that is just what the media called him. The people called him that thar doctor over in Oto. So we start off in Oto, which is no longer a town, but in the 1930s, it was a little village in Stone County, Missouri, right outside of Crane on the James River. And in 1932, a man arrived at the Cox family home. And that was just a family there, farmers. They had a little farmhouse. And this old man showed up. He was 72 years old. He said his name was Omar Palmer and that he was just passing through and looking for a place to spend the night. And so they let him set his tent up on their farm, and he ended up staying forever. So he was a very mysterious figure. He wouldn't talk about his background very much, but he would give little hints here and there. He said something about his mother being from England. He said that he had studied medicine in England and that he was either worked for or was related to Joseph Lister, the Listerine guy, famous physician. And he spoke several languages. He said that his job had been in civil engineering. He wouldn't allow anyone to take any photos of him, and it was assumed that Omar Palmer wasn't his real name. But so he stayed there in his tent until December of 1932, when his tent washed away, and then he moved into the house with the Cox family. And then in February 1932, a man in the area got sick. His name was Seth Tuttle, and Omar Palmer said that he could treat him. So he started treating him, and the man got well. And then Omar Palmer started treating other people. And very, very quickly, this thing snowballed into Omar Palmer being the town doctor. But the thing was that he wouldn't take any money at all for his services. He wouldn't take a cent. He wouldn't take a gift. He did it all for free. And he would travel all over the area to see patients in their homes. But then word got around and people started traveling to the Cox family home to be seen by him, to the point where after a few months, there would be 500 people camped out on the Cox family farm, all waiting to see the doctor. And they came from all over the country, and it was hard to get to Oto. It wasn't on the way to anywhere. There wasn't a highway. You had to travel, literally you had to drive through the creek at one point to get there. So it was very difficult to get there. But people all over the country came, to the point where he was seeing patients from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m. every single day. And he wouldn't take a cent from any of them. And then one day a week he reserved to travel around the surrounding counties and see patients in other places. But the accounts say that the people, as many as 500 people, would be camped out, and they would have picnics. There would be dancing and fiddle music. People would have a good old time waiting to see the doctor. But the thing was that he was an herbalist. And so he would use conventional medicine when it was needed. And the community actually set up a community fund to pay for actual medicines that needed to be purchased. And he wouldn't perform any surgery. If someone needed a surgeon, he would send them to a surgeon. But his main operation was herbalism. And so he started employing people in the town to go up and dig up all these herbs. And then he completely took over the Cox family home so that they had people in the kitchen all hours of the day and night boiling these herbs and concocting these tinctures. But people regarded him as a miracle worker. Whenever a doctor would turn them away, they would come to Dr. Palmer, and he would miraculously cure them when no one else could. And so he was a huge deal, and the media came in, and media from all over the country came in, but he wouldn't allow himself to be photographed. He would be very evasive in his interviews. At one point, he needed to get a urine analysis from another company. And so he provided some credentials for that. And here, hang on a second, I have them. He claims that he was a student at King's College in London, working with Dr. Joseph Lister and Dr. Pasteur, that he graduated medical school at the University of London, that he graduated medical school at the University of Edinburgh, that he graduated university at Sorbonne in Paris. There's an Italian university on here too. And of course it was the 30s, so him just saying all this, they were like, yeah, sure, okay. So massively popular. Everyone loved him. And then the next year, July 21st, 1933, all of the doctors in the area hated him because
Right.
he didn't charge anything. And so they lost all of their patients who would come to Dr. Palmer instead and get treated for free. And so the doctors petitioned the sheriff to have him arrested for practicing medicine without a license. And so that very first patient that he saw, Seth Tuttle, was a sheriff, and that was the person who came and arrested him for practicing without a license. And the town immediately posted his bail. And he wouldn't answer any questions. And they told him, well, you're going to have to answer the questions when you get on trial. And he said, no, I won't. I'm going to be tried for practicing without a license, and nothing else is anybody's business. So he still wouldn't answer any questions. But then October came and his trial happened, and they couldn't find a single witness to testify that he had taken payment for his services. And so they didn't have a case against him, because if he didn't take payment, they couldn't prove that he was practicing without a license. So he was acquitted. And
Yes.
after that, the doctors all got together and tried to have an amendment passed in legislation to stop him giving out medicine. But 25,000 petitioners got together, signed a petition, and that amendment was killed in committee. So after that, the next year, he moved to a slightly bigger town, and I think the Cox family kind of got tired of their home being used for this. And so they started a dedicated clinic, but he kept up with the same pace, seeing people all through the day and through the night for no charge. And beyond that, he provided people in the town with jobs during the Depression, because he would pay people to dig up the herbs. He would pay people to find bottles. He would pay people in the clinic. And then on top of that, the town got a little economy going with the restaurants and hotels and gas and all of that. And the clinic didn't even have enough money to meet expenses, but Omar Palmer would just make that up out of his personal funds. And then in 1935, he started the Oto Pharmacy in Springfield and started selling his herbal medicines worldwide. People bought them all over the world and shipped them out. And here's a little... This book is full of ads and primary sources from the time that she scanned in here, but... stuff like prescription number 47 for kidney and bladder, recommended for elimination of poisons from your system, puffing under the eyes, pains across the back, getting up at night, and all conditions caused from sluggish kidneys. $1 a bottle. And so he started selling these herbal medication, and he made quite a bit of money doing that. And at this time, he was 74, 75. And he married a 27-year-old woman.
Hell yeah.
And
Hell yeah.
Well,
Get it, doctor.
he had a couple of kids with her. And then in 1938...
Nice. There's still hope for me.
just start up an herbalist business. In 1938, the clinic in Hurley, Missouri, very abruptly closed with health concerns cited as the reason. And he built a mansion in Washburn, Missouri, and moved there. And then in 1946, he died, but it was very quiet. By the time anyone figured out that he died, his wife and children had already moved out of the house and moved to another state. So he kind of went just as quickly as he came. And then I just want to read this quote from him about what someone asked him, a reporter asked him what all this stands for. And he said, "The poor are entitled to the same medical care as the rich. The time will come when medical treatment will be on the same basis as education, because human beings are all entitled to the same consideration, and because the country has an investment in the health of its citizens and loses it if they are incapacitated by ill health. 57 years ago, last August, I held up my right hand and said, 'I hereby dedicate myself to the service of humanity.' That is what I am doing. Most of the doctors are against me, but some of them say they glory in my spunk. They would like to do as I am doing, but they haven't got the guts." And so that is the Wizard of Oto. And I just think it's such a badass story.
Yes, I love that.
And I think he was probably totally full of shit.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But what took him from not being a grifter, right, is that he just did all this for fun. At one point, he said that civil engineering was his job, but medicine was his hobby. And so, more power to him.
You know how they have those like free dental day things?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I went to one of those once, and you have to they're a great example of just how broken our system is, because people will be there at 5 a.m. and wait like 12 hours to like get a filling, or to not even get in because they don't have enough people. But what I realized those things need while you wait is fiddle music and dancing, instead of all of us just like sitting around in like a church lobby waiting to be shuttled somewhere. Need fiddles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it because, I mean, there's so many parallels right now to the Great Depression, and this is the type of thing we need. And it would be preferable if they were actual doctors that stood up and said,
"Wait, you don't believe that he studied under Dr. Who did he say? Like Lister?
Dr. Lister and Dr. Pasteur."
Right. Like, I could put that, like, his credentials, if you asked me to name doctors and places that I would have studied, that's about what I would have came up with overseas. Just on the spot.
But the thing is, everyone said that he actually cured their ills. And he did, he delivered babies. He dug out bullets, if someone got shot, he could dig out the bullet and sew it up and do that kind of thing. And the thing with herbalism, it sucks because right now anyone who's super into herbalism, also sells essential oils, MLMs. But herbal medicine has been around, for as long as humanity, and it actually does work for minor, colds, coughs, allergies, that kind of thing. And even actual medication is, there's a heart medication, a very popular heart medication that is derived from the foxglove plant. And there's tons of medications that are derived from plants. And so it's not a totally bunk idea that there are some plants that can do a little bit of good. But I think there was a lot of faith going on here,
Right.
But anyway, I just think I think it's badass that he did all that for free. And also, he was 72 years old when this whole saga started.
And
so that's the Wizard of Oto.
Whatever herbal stuff he was using to like, he had whatever the herbal equivalent of Viagra is, because he was pumping babies with some 27-year-old. So I believe in his system. I believe it works.
Exactly. Proof that it works. And no one has ever figured out what his real name was either, or where he came from, how he showed up there. No one knows. It's still a mystery.
Is the mansion was it a mansion or whatever, like his home still exists, you said?
No, the home where he did all of the doctoring, the Cox family farmhouse. Yeah, okay. That is still standing, and you can go. I went and found that. I absolutely adore Stone County. I just love Stone County.
I have no strong opinions one way or another about Stone County.
Maybe you should visit. Go to the Crane Library. They're very lovely there. And they will sell you this nice book.
Okay. Well, first I'm going to destroy what's the Christian County. And then I'll move on to checking out Stone County.
Well, anything else?
No, I think we damn near covered it all.
Damn, wow, we did. I got an hour 16 here.
Nice.
I know.
God,
we're getting these things tighter.
Okay, well, I guess I'll hit stop then.
Okay.
Me too.
Hey, y'all. I apologize for this one being a little bit late, and also for how shitty this probably sounds. I don't have my mic on me doing this on break at work. The one benefit to being behind here, which I'm blaming on the weather, it's entirely my own fault, but we got like 8 inches of snow, so I'm going to put it on that. I had trouble downloading files and shit. But the one benefit of running late here is that I found out just a little bit ago that Missouri's native son, Rush Limbaugh, ate shit, died on a toilet. That's right, Rush Limbaugh is dead. Won't do too much dancing on his grave here, but I just want to point out that he was a massive piece of shit, and that he is probably more responsible for the state that we are currently in this country. More responsible for Trump, more responsible for poisoning your grandpa and grandma's minds into fucking whatever soup of toxicity they've got going on up there these days than any other individual. Quite possibly the worst American in the last 30 years. A man who's just a fucking bigot in every way. Miserable existence. I don't know. You want to be mad at me for feeling good about Rush Limbaugh being dead? Well, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. This is a man who used to have a segment on his radio show in the late 80s where he would read off the names of gay men who had died because of AIDS and play bells and whistles and celebratory noises. This is a man who said that we should use the N-word as long as we use the soft A instead of the hard R after Trayvon Martin was killed. I mean, just a truly despicable piece of shit. And the damage is already done. The cat's out of the bag. Him being dead doesn't fucking take any of that back. But until as recently as days ago, this man was still on the fucking air spewing lies, misinformation, bigoted bullshit. So fuck him. I'm glad he's gone. That said, tell your friends about us. Check out the Patreon if you're into that kind of stuff. Got a cool bonus episode put up there last week that I feel pretty good about. That's it. I don't know. I got nothing. Pour one out for Rush, and by one out, I mean piss. Okay. Thanks for coming through. Talk to you next week.